Hello, I'm Ken Hay, founder of Sunstream Boat Lifts, and I'd like to give you an overview of what you need to know to get a boat lift in our segment, Boat Lifts 101. You see a lot of boat lifts out there, and people get them for different reasons. And boat lifts are not just for storing your boat, but it enables you to use your boat more. It allows you to be spontaneous and to go from smaller trips versus an all-day event. People buy these maybe because they're new to boating and want a easier, safer docking and safer boat boarding, or maybe your experience at boating is important to you and you want the best boating experience. Maybe you're busy and you want and need boating to be easier and faster. Or maybe you don't want to fuss with the dock lines or fenders or the covers and snaps. You could care about your boat looking like new and want to keep it in showroom condition, or see your boat as an asset that you want to protect and maximize the resale value. Or maybe it's a combination of all these factors. There's several different types of boat lifts. There's freestanding lifts, where it sits on the seabed. Floating lifts, where you tie it up like a boat at a dock or mooring buoy. Piling lifts, which use cables that pull up on a piling with electric motor. Elevator lifts, which have a track that's mounted on a seawall. There's several different types of freestanding lifts. Originally, it was cable lifts with a big wheel you'd crank up, and then water-powered lifts, and now the latest generation is hydraulic and remote control, where you can raise and lower, depending on the model, about 30 seconds. And it used in markets with less than 4 feet of water fluctuation, such as Lake Washington, Lake Sammamish, American Lake, Lake Chelan. And now there's models that enable you to use the boat in little over 0 water depth underneath your keel. So you can really bring them in close to shore. These lifts are run by a battery, so you can have over 180 amps, giving incredible power, giving it the speed for lifting. And it's charged with solar or AC. And you can get either most are aluminum, but there are some steel, just like trailers. Free-floating lifts, there's both hydraulic and ones that have air that are pumped into air tanks. They can be used almost anywhere you moor your boat, a slip, if you have the slip width, side tie, even a mooring buoy. The models that are hydraulic have solid foam floats, so you can ground out in tidal regions, which really opens up some options from people in the Puget Sound for use. You'd be using any tidal or water fluctuation, any max depth, fresh or salt water, very practical. But do check your slip width, because it does get wider in the boat. Similar to the freestanding hydraulic lifts, these are run by a battery to get the high amps and are charged by solar or AC. Air lifts are AC powered. And the hydraulic lifts are more expensive than air lifts, but you have the peace of mind that it's unsinkable and the floats lock underneath versus resting on air. Piling lifts are used in the Puget Sound because of the lifting range needed, and the premium ones are aluminum, which is definitely recommended, because the steel ones, even if it's galvanized, will rust. These require pilings and have high amp AC. If you have a seawall in Puget Sound, an elevator lift could be an option. Also, an aluminum or steel, they mount to a seawall and have this angled track that slopes away as it goes down. These are also AC powered. So let's plan for a boat lift. Well, the first thing you do is find a reputable reseller and have a site inspection done. You can go over the water depth, the slip width, wave size, water fluctuation, and your boat type and your future boat types. The retailer will know about the permit regulations, the number of lifts at your dock, your homeowners association rules, the marina rules, and we'll get a game plan for what type of lift and where it could be. It's important though to plan ahead because it could take some time. Sometimes there's work windows, but also in the spring rush, it can take a while to get a boat lift installed. The retailer will go over if you want solar or AC charging, that even if you have AC at your dock, you may want to go solar if you don't want to run the power to the boat lift, which saves some money and is a little more convenient. But also, because these last for over 20 years, you got to think about your future boat so you don't have to swap out your lift, or the lift doesn't prevent you from getting your next boat. 2-foot itis is real. The boat lifts are typically sized by total weight. So be careful because in the weight spec in your brochure for your boat is actually dry weight. So you have to add the total fuel and water, other equipment, and your boat lift dealer can help you with that. And also considering your next boat when you're sizing it out as well. If you have any special hulls like a pontoon, catamaran, sailboat, there's bunk kits and configurations for those. So you need to also to get the right lifting range. The boat lift retailer will select the right lifting range so the boat's high enough out of the water to be safe, but also not too high to be in your view. And you select the charging type, and if you want to bring your lift really close into shore, if you need a shallow water configuration. The boat lifts have come a long way over the decades, but recently there's been huge advancements in accessories. You've seen the automatic boat cover. If you've been around the last few years, it 30 seconds hydraulically puts the full cover on all the way down the water line. It just keeps all the sun off. It just keeps the boat looking like new. And it's more expensive than a Canopy, but you make it up on the resale value. The latest technology where we have smartphone apps and with Bluetooth control, and Bluetooth is superior over to the traditional radio frequency because it has consistent long range, and RF is getting very crowded. This new goalpost guide-ons are great because you can actually see when you're on the lift because you see the tips of the goalposts and it helps guide the bow. That one acts like a forward set of guide-ons. Motor stops are some option, but stopping by the bow is a preferred way because you don't risk having your prop hit the stop if you drive over the top. Every lift should get guide-ons, at least one set in the back, and some people would like also the security of forward ones as well. Canopies are sometimes restricted, but or options on freestanding lifts and any special bunk kit. So how do you decide between a canopy and automatic boat cover? Automatic boat covers are more expensive, but it definitely has superior protection. The canopies do a good job of keeping rain that is vertical off your boat, but doesn't protect it from the sunshine blasting from the sides. And it does create an ecosystem inside the canopy for birds and bugs and spiders, well, which actually gets your boat kind of dirty. There's also the view aspects where the automatic boat cover opens up your view more, but it is a big price difference between the two. So what factors should you consider when selecting a boat lift? Since this will be a super important part of your boating life, getting the right brand and quality is really worth the money. So ask your boat dealer, ask your neighbors about the brands out there. But the who puts it in is also super important. If it's installed improperly, you can damage the lift or your boat. But the hydraulics is the essential part of the whole system. That's what makes it go up and down. And each component you need to look at, make sure it's the best. With the pumps, the pressure balance pumps are 20% more efficient. It doesn't lose pressure over time. It's quieter and nicer sounding versus a fixed gear pump. The cylinders are important. The stainless steel are the best. Then there's aluminum and steel. And but the cylinder boot that goes over the shaft is essential, because if you don't have that, the growth will build up on the shaft, and that can blow out your seals of your cylinders and actually contaminate your fluid and hurt your pump. Make sure it has a cylinder boot. There's a wide variety of hoses, and hoses are important because it's kind of a vulnerable part of the lift, because it can chafe in the dock. Critters can chew on it. So the best is if it's a stainless braid hose versus a plastic. The fittings have got to be stainless steel. So make sure that, because those will rust out in not too long if it's not. For the frame, look at the stiffness of the frame, of the beefiness of the structure, 1/4 inch wall minimum, and the width of the structure comparatively, and also factors that make it stiff, such as a soft stop of cylinders that slow down at the top. You also get lifts that have set bolts that lock the legs in, but having the lift stiff is important. Bushings, it ranges from the bronze bushings are the best, and plastic or nylon are not recommended for underwater. And the looks of the lift, your boat's going to be on a pedestal. It's your trophy. So the lift also needs to look nice. So look at what type of product you would like to put your boat on. There's 2 different types of fluid types as well to be aware of. A water-soluble fluid is important because over time, small bits of water does get into the system. If it's water-soluble, it doesn't matter. Versus vegetable oil, where it turns into like a salad dressing, it can really hurt the pump, and you have to flush the system. Look at technology. If you love that, for many, the smartphone app is a must, and the Bluetooth and the range of the remote control. And then look at the available accessories that brand has that make sure you can get the accessories you want. For boat lift maintenance, there's not a lot. For the battery, it's really best to get a sealed battery so you don't have to worry about checking the fluids. But it's really, if you have a battery that you need to check, make sure you do. And replace the battery proactively every 4 years, even if it's still operating, so you don't have to worry about it letting it down over time. The lift needs to be inspected annually by the dealer to make sure the bolts are tight, there's nothing odd, the power pack is good, fluid's good. So don't forget to do that. The cover, if the automatic boat cover, having that, look it over for any type of wear that needs to be fixed for the season, and and it needs to be cleaned. For the saltwater market, make sure the zincs are maintained. Typically, swap those out every year. So the common mistakes to avoid: definitely get the lift situated in place before the boat comes in, because a brand new boat, it'll be all tea stained even with a few days. And then you have to take it out and get it acid washed to get that off. And or don't bottom paint your boat as to waiting for the lift, because the bottom paint slows the boat down, and personal preference, it doesn't look as nice. Make sure you use a total weight versus dry weight of the boat to make sure you get the right capacity of the lift. Make sure you tell the dealer of the right weight, and your dealer is double checking that. Always consider your next boat purchase, because even though you love this boat today, in a few years, you'd be looking potentially the next one up. And always pick a quality installer, as I mentioned. So, in wrapping up, let's talk about how to maximize your boat lift experience. If the sun is setting, take the boat out to watch it versus your deck. Be spontaneous. Use your boat more often whenever you'd like. Teach your whole family how to use your boat and dock, and live the dream. I invented the hydraulic boat lift 25 years ago, so I wanted to use my boat like my car, and like you to experience the ultimate in boating. Well, thank you for listening, and I look forward to seeing you all on the water.